Okay, well, welcome back YouTubers to the 67 Beetle. I got this piece today, and this is the little plenum that goes up underneath here. Abner had taken it apart and sold it on eBay. This part was available through Wolfsburg, and it goes in there either way, it doesn't matter. But what holds it in place is it has a little clip here and here, and it holds it into the metal piece, yes, but it also has a clip here, yeah, on four sides, and then see, it's all squeezed together like that. Now, dare I put this in there? No. And I'll tell you why. It's because I do not have the hose for this, and I don't know how the hose is going to go on there. So once I've got that squeezed in there, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the hose in there. Again, this is all a learning curve, so I don't quite know how everything goes together and whatnot. A couple of things I need to do. I need to put my glove box on. The door, that is, before I put my glove box in, the one that I made. And like everything in this car, the glove box hinges are missing because you know, when you're going to restore a car, you want to take the glove box hinges out. Yeah. So I've got a write-in to some people on the Samba, and hopefully they'll answer and they will have the parts I'm looking for. In the meantime, they're going to come red or green or purple or white or whatever, and I'm probably going to sand them really nicely quick and paint them, but I need to paint my block off plate as well, so it doesn't make any sense to paint anything right now because I need to paint this as well. So can't put my glove box in because I don't have my glove box door. Can't put this in because I don't have my well, yeah, I don't have the glove box door or the hoses to it, so I'm waiting on those. Maybe they'll show up today. It's one of those days, you know, you've got a day off, but you can't do anything because you're waiting on parts, or you're waiting on people, or you're waiting on surprises. Surprise that Abner had doled out for you. So every day it's a new surprise, but I just don't understand why you would want to take a car apart that far. It just, I'm perplexed. I guess he didn't have anything else to do. Okay, so, well, let's wait for parts, and next video I'll have some parts. Alright, because I can't work on these parts until I have parts, every day we have to progress, so I pulled my vent out, and we're going to start working on this. This is the driver's side vent, so it's going to be the one that's beat to pieces the most because it gets the most use, and in classic fashion it is. The latch is really seized up, and it's broken up here where the rivet goes in. That's not a problem. I know this is going to be a Garfont to Narful because these are terrible, but I got the best parts I could, and they're from Wolfsburg, so I got those, I think. So we're going to need to disassemble this. A lot of cars, they have an adjustable clamp. Chevrolets, old Chevrolets and stuff have this. My old Ford van had this, had a bolt and a spring where you tighten it up. This one, you just tighten the bolt up, and it's correct, which is great, because once you get this in the door, you can't tighten this up anymore for the vent. And if you're going down the road and you open your window up, you know, and the air just slaps it back, well, it negates it being a vent. Does that make sense to you? Okay, we're going to take this apart. We're going to take this bolt out of here, And you don't want to disconnect your vent here, because that's a very delicate piece right there, how that's sandwiched together and stuff. I understand that there are 2 rivets here. It's less delicate, and what we can do is we can put screws through there from the other side and cut them off. We can also put just a very quick weld on it where it's not going to heat things up too bad, and that'll probably work. This will need another rivet, but I wouldn't separate these. That's a very crucial point. So I'm going to take a die grinder and grind these off, and then take this bolt off and disassemble it, and then this rubber, or it once was rubber, will come out, and you'll have to squeeze another one in. Soap and water is a good mixture. Also, you can pull the rubber and it'll get shorter since it's so supple, and you can fit it in there that way. Good parts or correct parts are mandatory for this operation. Two washers. Probably grease that when I get done. The glass is a little loose in the frame. But I'm not going to mess with it. Slightly loose at the top and the bottom. Oh, and take this and put it over here where it's safe. Then we'll work on this. Pull all this rubber out of here. Okay, this piece just pulls out here. It'll set in there like that. It appears that this piece I got is longer, and there's a little lip right here. There's a little lip right here. So we'll probably have to cut this piece, and it kind of folds in there like this. Let's try to get that in there first. If you, we're going to start with, we're not going to start with this long piece. This is going to go right to the edge of this here, because that's how farther it can go. Can't go any farther. And so this side slightly overlaps with a little lip here. So that's where the seal is. And if you notice, the hole lines up magically with that measurement right there. So the hole is about right. You can take and fold the bottom side in and get that hooked in there, and then you can take a small screwdriver or a probe, and you can kind of something with a kind of a flat surface, not very sharp, and you can poke that in there kind of, and then examine your work. Walk along that as you work and examine what you're doing here. Let's see, we'll have to push that in. That doesn't look right. That's got to go. Push that in. Probably put a little water on this, or a little soap in water. It would probably work a little easier, a little better. Something's pulling this up right there. Let's work this in all the way though first. Make sure we get it all the way to the end. This is going to have to go. Let's see. There. Okay, let me work a little bit more with that. I know it's going to take a lot of work, so I'm not going to fidget around with it on video. You just have to work it around there. Okay, where I ground them two out, the slot for that is right in the center. We're pretty good at the edge here. Everything looks to be okay. The hole here is lining up with the shaft there, and we have our little lip at the top here, and if we push these together, we will have a little lip here also, and then when you put this piece in here, it will go over the top of that and that, creating a seal. Be careful how much you trim off. I had to trim this much off. I put it in this way, and then what I'm doing is I'm pushing it down and working it with my little flat screwdriver. In such a fashion. You might have to go over a couple of spots again and make sure you get it pushed in there. but you can see how well that fits. And you know, it's out here because it hasn't been pushed in yet. Whoops, sorry about that. See that? This piece of steel, those rivets are steel too. So is the back of this. So who's to say if I just didn't put it through there and sprayed it down with a little water, maybe put a rag over it that's wet, and touch it a couple of times with a welder. I'll bet you it'd work. Let's try it. What I've tried to do here is I thought long and hard about this, about welding this, and it's probably not a good idea. So I pushed this up through here and put some JB weld on it. I also JB welded the underside of this, and it was a genuine absolute bitch trying to get this thing through there. What you have to do is you have to put this through here, this pin through there, and then pull the rubber out, stretch it around this, and then apply your JB weld and poke it up in there. And then what I did is I opened the vent up like this, and I put a clamp between yo and yo to kind of push that in there, and I could see that it was in there, but I don't know if it's in there far enough. And here's the deal. Here's the thing about this. I temporaried a screw in the top one, and when you close this, oh, that's rubbing right there, which is fine, and you close it, the top doesn't really want to go in like it should, and what you end up with is a gap right here. I've got a gap up here in the rubber. I don't like that. I think I have this positioned wrong, probably, or I don't have it strapped up against there hard enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind my JB weld out, take this thing all apart, take the rubber out of it, grind all my JB weld out of there. That was a mistake to do that. So you learn by your mistakes, you don't know. And then I'm going to take this little screw with me. I'm going to go down to the Ace Hardware and see if I can find some micro nuts and bolts about that size, and it possibly you know, maybe some machine screws or something like that. I can put this up through there, and I can grind the heads slightly more flat. I know you can rivet it. Yeah, I got it, but I don't have a set. And you have to have a rivet set in order to do that. It's a little deal that squeezes the rivet, kind of a thing. So I'm going to try some nuts and bolts. Again, I'm trying to avoid putting a, you know, taking the original, it's got a little fiber washer there, and taking that original rivet out, because this shows. This and this does not show. Therefore, someone comes up to your Volkswagen and sees it has nice supple gaskets on it, and you have the original rivet in it. Hard isn't necessarily better, but in this case, it's going to be. Making this work and this work without having to disconnect this is going to be better, in my opinion, than disconnecting that, because you've broken the original and what you see on the outside. So let's go down to Ace and see if we can find some nuts and bolts. First, let's look at home and see what we got. Let's look at the Robert J. Allen collection and see what they have in there. Oh, that might be a little bit big. We could trim that down a little bit. Oh, that's got a square head on it. How about that? This one's a little bent, but I think it'll be okay. Let's go to Ace. Just came back from Ace Hardware, and I got some screws. Let's see if you can see that. That's a 3mm machine screw. Careful, don't sneeze, it'll go away. And that little microscopic dust particle on the glass is the nut right there. So they're 3mm, exactly the size of the rivet that was in there. I love Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware is a great place to go. I bought 6 of each, so when they go spinning across the garage and end up 20 miles away in Norman, I'll have an extra one. 59 cents a piece for the nut, if you can believe that, and 19 cents for the machine screw. $5 worth of parts in this little bag right here. Isn't that crazy? But it is as it is, and if you don't have these things and you can just go around the corner and get them, it's so choice. You just can't believe how choice it is. We're going to put this in the aluminum portion. The rubber or the molding that the glass slides up into the little channel has like a little tar back kind of a thing, and it will absorb quite a bit of that, and probably a millimeter of it. And the other one had a slight bump out, and so I think we have room enough not to have to grind anything down. So let's get that together. Now, when I put this together, I'm going to put it together with some JB Weld as well. 2 reasons is to help this adhere. I think the rivet was a little bit stronger because it wasn't threaded. So there might be only 2mm of material steel going through there, whereas there was a 3mm rivet before. So I'm going to glue that, and then on the other side also I'm going to put some JB Weld, and that will keep the nut from backing off. I've made an executive decision to try to do less harm to this than I've already done. And I am not going to grind this out, this JB Weld I have in here. If it falls out later, we will address it, but I think it'll last for a good long time. I don't see it having any problems. The other one I'm going to bolt in place, and we will see if that doesn't work better. And that way it gives you two ways to put this together. What is that? A bunch of filth down in there. So, the filth catcher. It gives you two different ways, 2 different perspectives on how to put this together. I have a feeling that if I take this out, I'm going to tear up this rubber trying to get it out. Probably the JB Weld has seeped into the nooks and crannies. I will tear it up. Grinding this out, I really don't have a Dremel to do that with right now, and I'll want to show you something later in the video that makes me think this is seated correctly and we're okay. So let's put this thing together and I will show you. I have put a little JB Weld over that nut. I put a little bit on the inside, on the outside, so when it's sandwiched together, it'll make good contact. Incidentally, just some cardboard pieces and toothpicks with the flat end, not the pointed end, but they make them with flat ends and pointed ends. The flat ends work fabulous for mixing small amounts of JB Weld and doing little work like that. The screw worked famously. It worked perfect. And so I'm going to shut this, and I want to show you something that when you shut it, it has this little bulb seal right here. See this little deal right here? And it has to flap over the top of this rubber piece, and same with this. So that way you get a positive seal. Now, have a look at the top and bottom of this. The gap here and the gap here are just about proper, just about right. I'm thinking as I put this in here and I give this a little push, you can feel it push in, and it may take several days of that sitting in that area in order to seal properly or better, where we're not going to get a gap here. Already the gap is closed quite considerably, and I can probably massage that a little bit where it's going to work all right. I'm thinking that there isn't anything wrong with this, but on the other hand, I'm going to put the other one together with nuts and bolts, and we'll see what we have. Okay. To finish this up, we'll come down just a little bit. There you go. To finish this up, we're going to put a little dollop of grease here, just like that. Probably should have greased that. I did. I put a little bit of oil on that because I wanted it to slide through the rubber, so I put a little bit of oil on that already. And let me put you on hold right now. I'm going to be interrupted. Sorry about that. The wife came back home. So I'm going to tighten that up. When I went to Ace today, I locked my keys in the car, but it wasn't a problem because I have a place with a magnetic deal, and I have spares. Oh, I know you're saying, why in the hell would you tell somebody you got spare keys in your car? Yeah, man, if they gotta have it, then they gotta have it, I guess, you know. You gotta have it worse than me. Make sure you got both your washers on there. But I avoided catastrophe today by having spare keys on your car. So if you don't have spare keys on your car, get some. Especially if you've got a car that you can lock the keys in. And it's not just old cars, new cars do this too. I come across a car today that the not today, but this week, that the key fob was left on the seat, and the key was locked in the car, and the doors were locked. So I had to wait until he got another fob. If you clean this out here with a little lacquer thinner, right here, clean all the muck and crud out of this. It's really not necessary to glue this because it's a proper part. And I'll show you. All bets off if you don't buy the proper part. If you're buying it from Cowabunga dudes, well, I can't help you there. This has this little sticky tar back. You can see that. See that? Now when I put this in here, what's going to happen is it's going to stick to that quite nicely. I don't know if it needs to be that long, but we're going to leave it as that. I don't think it needs to be that long, but we're going to leave it like that. And I might need to trim just a tick off of this. We'll put it down there like that, and you can press that in there with your thumb like that. And that's all you need to do. And there you have one vent. We're going to massage this a little bit, and I probably want to cut that off. Maybe not. I'll probably do though. One vent, and now we're going to work on the other one and see what we can do. like it's going in kicking and screaming. I'll tell you what, I got a little cure for that. This is a roll of foam core butyl. Foam core butyl. And a lot of people call it dum-dum. There's typically, some back glasses go in with it. The old F-150 that bolts in place goes in with it. The new Kia and Hyundai car vent glasses go in, vent and quarter glasses go in with it. So it's nice to have. It's sticky. Yourself put it on there if you can manage to make it on there. And then your screw will stick on there. That. The hole disappeared. Let's see here. There's the hole. This. Like I'm going to need an alignment tool. Be right back. Good for retrieving small parts. Almost better than a magnet because it doesn't stick to anything. I have my alignment tool here. It's just a little pick. I have one screw in it already. So I'm going to pull my pick out and see if I can't get this other screw in there. They were really tight, which I like, which is good. Turn that up like that. There's our train right on time. It's important to be on time. Pardon me for the fan in the background. What did I do with that? Maybe that wasn't dry yet. This will keep it from backing out if you put a little JB weld on it. That off there. I'm probably zoomed way up on this and you can't see it, right? Yeah, you can't see it. Maybe you can. I've got a flashing battery light, so I'll have to change that battery really quick. Let's get those tight. Get those tight. Change my battery. Now, We'll have to stuff that rubber all up in there now. Let's do that. It just goes to show you what kind of artists these mechanics were, or these workers were in Volkswagen when they put these things together. Because, you know, well, for one thing, they had original parts. You know, having original parts is great. I could probably put one of these together and make it absolutely perfect if I had the original parts. But, you know, with aftermarket parts, making these things work, even from Wolfsburg, is just, it's kind of questionable. Okay, first thing, if you notice the glass, and the glass doesn't stretch or shrink, it's a little bit bigger at the bottom than it is at the top. And if you look here, we also have this coming out a little farther, just like the other one. So we have a little problematic deal there. These have to go where they go, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts there. So I'm going to put this together the best way I know how, and I guess call it good. In the back of my mind, I knew better than to tear these apart, because these were put together with original parts by freaking champions, okay? And you know, they did it all day long, and they knew exactly what was wrong with it when it didn't fit quite right. It does fit okay. I did a couple of these way back when they made Taiwanese stuff. This little gap here, oh, how fast are you going to go? You'll probably whistle like crazy. So, you know, put some silicone grease in that and close it and don't open it. So we'll put this together, and I'll show you what I have. This goes down in the door so far that the door glass can't fall out of that, so you don't need that extra piece. I'm going to touch the bottoms up with a little paint so it doesn't rust, and I'm going to touch, no I'm not, I already did, JB well. Let's see here, yeah it's already covered over. This isn't one. A little paint, keep it from rusting. Bottom of this rail to keep from rusting. And there you go. There's a pair of vent glasses. I'll probably clean them up with a little steel wool, the bright work. But that's probably as good as I'm going to be able to make it with the parts available. Alright, on to the quarter glasses. Okay, I have two sets of quarter glasses, so I have some parts. But essentially what I'm looking for is less dense, relatively straight latches that I don't care how much patina they have on them or how much pitting they have on them, because I can just kind of wire wheel that and it'll be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I won't even wire wheel it, you know, I mean, just leave it like it is. Hinges that are good with good screws in them and such. And I'm looking for a matching set that match my vent glasses, and the mark on these match my vent glass. Volkswagen did this. This is how a Japanese car would work. Okay, if you had a quarter glass, there would be a quick edge. Sorry about that, folks. There would be a quick edge that goes around here. Okay. And then the quick edge would have a bulb seal, and then the glass would set up against it. And then there would be two screw holes, dink dink, and there would be a metal channel, and the screws would go through that, and the glass would hinge out like this. Okay, and then when you push the glass in, probably add a piece of trim around the glass. I've seen them without trim too. That's how the Japanese would do it. Now, how the Germans are doing it, this is typical Katzenjammer fashion. It's not, you don't put the glass in a Katzenjammer car. You put the car on the glass, see? So they have this piece of quick edge that goes around there that wedges up over your headliner, and then you have the hinge that goes up over the top with screws that goes through it. That hinges it, and then there's an affair of plastic covers and such, and then there's a rubber gasket that seals out or doesn't seal out everything. See, so I don't know if it's saving money or their tolerances are tighter, or they thought they could do this better that way. I don't know. So it is as it is, and that's the difference between the Germans and the Japanese cars. But the rubber seals on these are only rubber seals in the academic sense, as they were once seals, and they were once made of rubber. Now they have become concrete, and we will have to chisel them out of there. I'm thinking a screwdriver in there and prying them out would probably be a good idea. Try not to pry too hard, because you certainly don't want to shatter one of those glasses. I don't think you would, but I'll have to get into it and have a look. Never done this before. Here's the ones I got from Wolfsburg West, and they had this rubber band around them, so they've been hanging out for a little while. It looks like somebody has vomited on them, and then they just kind of threw it in the corner to dry it off. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's fine. And they come from Puchsburg West, so we'll try to put those on there. Let's get the old ones off first. I've seen a lot of guys fool around with these, and that's not the way they're to do it. They sit there and pick out the pieces and then swedge the piece in there, and that's not the way Volkswagen designed them to do. Hans and Fritz, when they were putting these together over in Germany, they would slicker this up and stick one end in it and stretch the rubber while they were pulling it, and pull the whole damn thing around. You see what I'm saying? And that way they didn't have to sit there and tuck. And now you can get little pieces out of it. You go a couple inches, take your screwdriver, give that a little what for until she breaks, and then you can just slide that piece out the bottom, see? And you're not dealing with this prying and screwing your edge up. So that's the way to get that out. I did give this a pull, and I kind of twisted it a little bit, but when we put the screws back in it, it should be okay. Probably I'm going to put a little Gramus in here, you can put silicone. I'm going to put some of that, we'll clean this up, and I'm going to put some of that sealant in there that I had, that body sealant. That's what I'm going to use. But that's the way to do it. I've changed my mind. I've bolted it back together. And what I'm doing is I'm just spraying a little, because the deal is you can't get the old stuff around these curves. It just won't come off. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a little pick, and I'm just kind of lightly going over it. That's working so much better. And then what you can do is you can come back with that same pick, and you can pick out these pieces in the grooves like this. Yeah, it's kind of scratching it up a little bit inside. So, you know, don't go so deep. Don't go too deep, because this is just aluminum, you know. So it'll allow you to get all that stuff out of there pretty easy. See how far I went just in that little bit of time? It's much easier. So once you get that all out, then we'll talk about what we got going on here. Then we'll talk about taking it apart and sliding the molding in. Okay, this is not one long continuous piece as it would seem. To have it stitched together in the center, and the stitched part where you want it is at the bottom. Always put your seam at the bottom in a water situation, because water runs downhill. It does not matter, it looks like, which way this goes. So we're going to come up around here, around there. And we're going to start right about here. I'm looking at it thinking. I'm going to spray her down with some silicone. Start that in there right there. And we're going to pull it in there just like this. Now, you can re-wet your silicone just with a little glass cleaner. You're going to have to feed and pull at the same time. Incidentally, this car has several applications like this. Under the hood, all the seals around the engine and such going the same way. I had fits doing mine though because the edge was all pinched up around it, so sometimes they go and sometimes they blow, you know. That in there. That's part of the way, maybe. Maybe we can stretch it and kind of get that lip in there and then let it expand. Let me work on this for a little bit because I'm just going to bore you fighting this. Have managed to get it all the way around. I did split the gasket though. I'm going to take some sealant, get it in there. Oh, that looks terrible. No. We'll clean it up. Don't worry about it. Okay, now let's squeeze these two halves together and get the screws in there. Okay, let's use what we learned on this one and work on the other one. Now, before I started on this, I know what you're thinking, but that gap there was crooked to begin with. So I didn't figure in for that, but it is what it is. That's the way it is. Just needs a little cleaning, but I think it ought to function just fine. Don't know why that gap is crooked. It might have been because, I don't know, because they tried to pull on it, trying to get this hinge off the pinch weld. Could be anything like that, so don't know. Let's work on the other one. The gap on this one is not boogered up. So, okay, let's pull all that crap out of there. Don't even break this stuff off. It's a waste of time. Just get your pick in there. I'm not even thinking it's necessary to take this apart in order to get that in there. Probably don't have to. Probably can just squeeze it. It'll go in. Or stretch it rather, and it'll go in. I've made this just askew enough here to be able to feed this in there. I say that, now it won't go in there. But I did start feeding that around there like that. I'm going to push it up just a little bit more, and then I can work it around there, I think. Stuck my pick in there, and that way it kind of pries it up enough where you can get to it. That's why when you get a corner, then you can stretch it down and kind of zip it in place. Let's see where our bottom is. Probably want to go a little bit farther because our bottom needs to go around a little bit. Our bottom's right here. So I'm going to need to pour it around a little bit farther to have our bottom down here. Lift that on the opposite side that you're working on, like that. Give that a little pull, like this, and run your thumbnail into that, or your fingernail in that, just like this. Say, just like this. There it is. That. I'll warn you, your hands are going to hurt after this. Not easy.
thumbnail works really well.
Alright, this wraps it up for this video. Kind of long-winded, but there's not really too many decent videos on, you know, very precise, exactly working with the rubber. It's like, oh, there, I did it. It's hard. But I've got a couple of ideas on this. First, let's talk about our vent, and we'll sum up what we did here. This vent window, I took this out and I did not break this rivet because that's original. And when you look at the car, you look at it and go, oh, it's original. They didn't break the... I wonder how they did that. Well, they took this piece out, and so we used some small screws. This seemed to work much better than the JB weld I put in there. Put a little paint on that though. Ace has those. $5 for 6 of them if you want. 2 here and 1 there, or if, something, you know, just 2 there is fine. But we still didn't get it to close quite like I would want it to. There is a slight gap at the top here. Maybe a little bit of massaging and maybe a little bit of heat and wear and that kind of thing, and she'll start working. I did put some oil down the shaft and work that to make that work. Re-greased our deal. We talked about the fact that there isn't an adjustment for how it opens. It opens one way, and it opens slightly stiff, oops. The reason why it opens slightly stiff like that is you want it slightly stiff when you're going down the highway. You don't want the wind to blow it shut. You want it to actually be a vent window. Okay. I didn't use much liquid on this. I did use a little glass cleaner, seemed to work, dried up fast. The soap and water works really good, silicone. You can use that. This section here I cut off because it was too long. Along with this section here I cut off because it was too long. The top was cut at an angle, the bottom was cut straight because it's angled. So there's your vent assembly. Not too shabby, not too bad. I'm going to shine it up a little bit with a little, maybe a little real fine steel wool and all the aluminum bits, and she should be back in service quite nicely. Okay. Prepare your hands, I'll tell you that. Your quarter glasses. I did a couple of test runs on these. One I did it one way and one the other. The best way I found, got a little rubber piece out right there. Our flat screwdriver is our friend. We'll poke that in. Yes. Alright, I'll get that. What I did is I took these 2 screws out, and then I took my pick and I put under this and in the hole and pried that up just slightly. And oh, this is putting it in. And what it did is it brought this section up just a little bit so you could slide this whole mess through there. And once you got it slid through there, you could, let me straighten this up because it's wrinkled. There you go. You could slide this whole mess through there. Once you got it around on a corner, keeping everything all nice and slick, and you gave it a pull, you could just get it right in with your fingernail as long as you got one edge in. So that seemed to work pretty good. Hardest part was around the edge here. I could probably do one of these now, 20 minutes probably. We'll have to work on that rubber, get that so it's right. Okay, we put our seams at the bottom, as you remember. Getting the old rubber out, I did not pick off the next one. The first one I picked off with my fingers, and it was made my fingers hurt, you know, picking all that stuff off. So what you can do is you can just get up underneath there with a pick, spray it down with some water and slightly tap it with a hammer. She'll come right off. It'll leave the right and the left stuck in there. Ah, train, you didn't think I was gonna, you thought, didn't ya? That's what you get for thinking. It'll leave the right and the left, so you can just pick that out. It's pretty easy as long as it's wet. It should fall right out of there. Blow it out with an air gun and then install. And you can pull those around and such like that in order to get those straight and not have too much of a warp issue or a bend issue. Well, I know this is a long video, but it really needed to be done because I don't think there is a decent one that shows really detailed on vent windows and quarter glass rubbers. So there you go. I am a glass guy by trade, so I've done this before on a couple of cars, older cars and stuff. Those are probably the best rubbers I have ever had fit. Wolfsburg seems to be the place. That's good rubber right there. As some of this other stuff you have to be a magician to put in, and just for a few bucks more you get the right stuff. Well, thanks for coming into my garage, and thanks for wrenching with me. I'm gonna go take some leave now and we'll see you next time, and hopefully we'll have some parts where we can actually get into the Beetle and work on it. So until next time, there you go. We'll see you guys later.